Hello there, this is Caroline. So my aim for this channel is to take anyone who's interested in art and specifically acrylic pouring to the very beginning, going over everything you need to get started. So last time I discussed all the different surfaces that you can paint on, and this week we look at the different types of paint which are suitable for pouring. Normally I would paint quite intricate paintings that would take me weeks and sometimes months to complete. So here I'm asking you to join me in discovering the fun and satisfaction from the art of acrylic pouring and the amazing results which you can achieve. So some people say that acrylic pouring is wasteful and that most of the paint just gets poured over the edge of your painting. But I have discovered, and it's recommended on a lot of the channels on YouTube, that you can actually catch a lot of your paint that falls over the edge onto a silicone mat, which I was able to buy on Amazon, and I think it was actually advertised as a table mat. And the paint dries, and once it's dried you can peel it off, and this is what I have so far, and I am going to try and make all sorts of interesting things, maybe some jewelry in resin, so it doesn't have to be wasteful. And I also would use reuse cartons and bottles and anything that I can get my hands on. These little cups here are actually very easy to wash. The acrylic paint just washes off, or you can let it dry and peel it off. So that's good. There are hundreds of different types of paint available out there. And so today we look at the ones that I found to work really well with acrylic pouring. Also, when you're starting out, you don't need to have lots of different colours. So long as you have red, yellow and blue, plus white and black, you can really mix any colour that you like. So I'm going to go over some of the paints that you can find out there. Now, this is a Liquitex heavy body acrylic paint, and I'm just going to pour it into one of these little glasses here so that you can see just how thick it is, and there's it would need a lot of medium to allow that to pour. So that is a heavy body acrylic paint. Another one available that's really good, but it's actually quite expensive, is golden fluid acrylic. These are actually made for the spray guns, but they are just the right consistency for acrylic pouring. And I really do love golden paints, but as I say, they are quite expensive. So they are really fluid, as they say. So I would just have maybe a couple of colours in those that I would use for my portraits and things, but maybe for pouring I find it just to be a little bit too expensive. Another one that I tried was the Montmartre. Now this is available on Amazon and it's ready mixed, ready to pour. So it's a pouring acrylic paint. So I actually discovered that when I used one of the other colours in it, that it wasn't really fluid enough, so I had to add a little bit extra to it, but it's quite fluid, so you wouldn't need to add too much to that. So that's quite nice, but it's not overly cheap either. What I actually prefer is the Amsterdam or the Liquitex Basics. These are both in and around the same price, and they are really good for acrylic pouring. They're a nice creamy texture. They are available in lots of different colours. They mix well with the water or the medium that you're using, and they're roughly about £4 per tube. Sometimes they're dear depending on the colour, but they're not the most expensive out there, certainly. So I'm going to pour a little bit just to show you the consistency of these. So I'll put some of that into here. So you can see that they're certainly not ready to pour. You're not going to get any pouring done with like that straight out of the tube. I did try another paint, and it is one of the cheapest ones available out there that I could find, and this is, it doesn't even say exactly what type of paint it is. I assumed it's acrylic because it mixes with water, but it just says ready mix paint, white, 500 mils, and it was £2. And to be honest, I have tried this and it wasn't that bad. I think, you know, if you were using as an underlayer, you know, you might get away with it. It's certainly not as opaque as some whites. So it certainly is a student or even a children's paint. So it wouldn't be my first choice, but you could maybe incorporate it. Some of the more specialist paint where you can buy metallics, etc., is from a company called Deco Art. And these are just nice to have. This is metallic, 24 karat gold, 2 fluid ounce. It's absolutely beautiful just to add into your mixtures. I found some other ones online from a company called Do Crafts. They do a metallic emerald, antique gold, and also a sapphire. And they were roughly about £2 each, all from on Amazon in the UK. And also this is one that I love. It's another Deco Art Rich Espresso. It's just like chocolate. It's really nice. But certainly the one that I prefer and I have found works for me is the Liquitex Basics and the Amsterdam Standard series. So what we'll do is I'll show you how to get it to the consistency that I use for pouring. And really for every type of technique within the acrylic pouring, you're looking for a different consistency of paint. But within that technique, you want, and your painting, you want all the paints to be the same consistency. So I am going to go over the mediums and additives in another talk, because it is really a subject in itself. But as you can see, this won't pour as it is. You can just use water to mix this, and Amsterdam paints recommend, I think, that you can add up to 50% water with this, but you don't want to be adding any more because the pigments will break down, it won't stick to the canvas, you have all sorts of problems. So what I use is Floetrol paint conditioner, and I get this on Amazon. It's I think it's used for painters, by painters and decorators, to make their paint flow better when they're painting houses. But it works really well, and this is a 1 litre container which cost me £22 on Amazon, and it, well, depending on how many paintings you're doing, it should last you a long time. It doesn't last me long at all because I'm forever painting. You should strain this. I haven't had many lumps appear in mine, so I'm not going to strain it. Now what I would mix is 1 part paint to 2 parts of the Floetrol, so double the amount of Floetrol. Now I am just going to guess this. I'm not going to measure. I'm sure plenty of people do measure, and you should measure, but I'm not, so there. So it's important that you mix the put the medium, like the Floetrol, in first, because this is still not going to give you that consistency for pouring, and it won't make the paint any lighter in colour either. With the paint being the Amsterdam really good, it's staying the same colour as it was, even though I've added 2 parts of the Floetrol. So that is just like very gloopy and still very thick. So I'm going to add some water to make this into the consistency that I would normally use for most techniques. So just a little at a time. Just mix it up. And you don't need to use all the paint at once. You know, if you don't use all the paint that you've mixed up in one painting, you can put it in a container and it will keep for weeks on end. So that's still too thick. These are silicone little jugs and they're really soft and pliable. Weird. I find it actually really relaxing mixing the paints. It's a good idea to decide on your paint palette, possibly the day before, and mix your paints all up then, because if they're going to develop air bubbles, then they're going to have time to for the air bubbles to be released. So there is getting to be a little bit better now, but still a little bit thick for the way I would use it. So a little bit more water. There we go. Now, isn't that just yummy? That's the way you would have all your paints, different colours but all the same consistencies. And as you've seen with all these different paints, you can still use the heavy body paint like this one, but you would obviously need to add a lot more of the medium and possibly more water. The fluid golden, you wouldn't need to add as much, so you would adjust how much medium and how much water you add depending on which paint you actually use. So along with the medium, the Floetrol, there are other things that can be added to help form cells, which, for example, I'll show you in this painting. I added a little bit of silicone to help form cells in this. This is a swipe technique. So there are a lot of different techniques that you can learn, but we're going to go over all these in slow time to help me learn and to discover what's out there and to pass that information on to you. So hopefully you've got an idea now of what sort of paint you can use, and we will discuss next time some of the other additives that you can put into your paint to help it flow and to create the cells. But it really is a subject all to itself, so that's what I'm going to do next time. But for now, if you would like to watch a paint pour, I've done just a flip cup pour. I used Amsterdam paint, which I mixed with 2 parts Floetrol and a little water. So I'll put all the colours in the description box, and any other information that I've given you about the different paints that I use, it'll all be down there. So have a look at the pour, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye for now.